able to say in iMessages, I feel uncomfortable. I'd love to have you as a friend, or, I'd love to continue talking with you as a family member, but only after you own your own issues.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Adea, and I am this man's niece, Emu. Yes, he's very stressed out at the moment, but give him a second to get himself together. It'll definitely be a lot better. Personally, I don't usually know him to be this, well, I wouldn't say this discombobulated, but something interesting about my uncle is he doesn't like stress. So, like, any small thing that, like, is just, like, it causes him stress, he just doesn't really like it. It's not that great for him. But in spite of that being his, like, character set, there's no, like, it doesn't stop him from, he doesn't just stop doing something because it stresses him out. Something that I've always found to be very interesting about him, like something that I've always admired, is how he's able to just kind of pick himself up and just keep going despite whatever the situation might be. For those of you that know him more, I guess personally, this may not necessarily come as a shock, but my uncle has literally had his life uprooted like many times. And there's so many things that have happened to him that for most people, I feel like they would just stop, or maybe they'll feel like, oh, there's no reason for me to keep pushing for this, or to keep moving past, or to keep working towards this path in life. And for my uncle, he just sees that as a challenge, and he decides, well, no, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to change it. I'm going to fix it. He's that kind of person that if there's no road, he'll pave a road. And if there's no house, he'll build one. And it's something that I've always admired. And it's something that has made me work as hard as I do now. Another thing that's very interesting about him, or that I've always thought was funny, is how honest he can be. Me personally, I can't tell you how many times maybe he's given me probably some kind of advice, and like in the moment I was so like irritated, because I'm like, you're telling me these things, but like this is hard, like it's easier said than done, if that makes any sense. But in time, after I learned to apply some of those things, I realized he actually didn't know what he was talking about. And it's kind of funny how I guess I grew from that as well. One thing is also, this book has been a long time in the making. It's something that he's been talking about for a couple years. It's something that we talked about together. And I don't know, well, I know on my end, like I was really supportive of this. I know I really wanted him to do it because if anything, I felt like this is where he probably is the most gifted at, is his ability to like reach people and to help people, whether that be based off of his own personal experience or simply just by the way his mind works. So today, for those of you that have taken your time to come out and show support to him, I say thank you. And I hope that you are ready with an open mind and an open heart to receive whatever he has to say today.
Thanks, Adea. Thank you so much.
So what part of this journey has been the most exciting for you?
This one right here, right now, that is stressing me the hell out. Before I came for this one, I went for another professional meeting by somebody I connected with like last month. And in the meeting, when I walked in, it was a bunch of professionals, talking about, actually it was one person talking about mental health. I was like, interesting. So, and I learned something from that, because she said the way to make the people in our community get comfortable with mental health is by telling our story. And it seems that that's all I know how to do. So that, because when you tell your story, people see themselves in you, if that makes any sense. Okay, this is another book reading and book launch that we are doing because mental health is something I think we should normalize in our community. We don't talk about it enough. As a result, people think it's a taboo. I know what I went through when I started talking about mine. And, I was shamed. Are you not a man? Be a man. And things like that. And I know how I persisted to ensure that people get comfortable by me being very uncomfortable. Because I will say this, I used to be uncomfortable. At the end of the day, I'm straight, like I felt drained. I'm like, why are you even trying to get these people to see these things? But somehow, for some reason, I decided to persist because I know how I also used to be when I did not think mental health was for everybody. I used to have the opinion, like so many other Nigerians, that mental, anytime you hear anything mental, it means there's something wrong with you in your head. So whether it's mental health or therapy, are you going for therapy? Is there something wrong with people in your family? Like, that's how bad it is. People go straight to, is it in your family?
Mika,
Yes, doctor.
Dr. Sartain talking, but just a comment on family. It's just not Nigerian families. American families are the same way, and they don't want to have a wackadoodle family member come to Thanksgiving dinner that's going to be that Uncle John that stands in the corner and that looks crazy or does crazy things or drinks too much to mask it all. So it's just not Nigerian men. It's American men too.
Thank you for letting me know, Dr. Susie, because there are some Americans here.
Okay, so Dika, you were discussing how for the male person, it's not very flattering or glamorous for a man to stand up and say, I've been seeing someone for my mental health issues, depression, anxiety, whatever.
hmm So yes, I was saying that in the community I'm from, but now Dr. Susie also says it's something that is also in the American community where we don't want to talk about mental health. Like, even growing up, like the meeting I came from, I emphasize on how even in the UK, you're mental, bro. So it's not like when you hear mental, it's not good. And then in Nigeria, it's even as bad as kolo, the craze, something they worry. Like, anything that has to do with the mind, people don't want to even talk about it because the stigma is unbearable. And so it's something that I saw for myself when I started reaching out to my friends who knew I was married, because not everybody knew that I was married, by the way. It was just a court wedding. We hadn't done the traditional and white wedding, church wedding. And I started, experiencing, like, it escalated. It didn't start when I came here, so it escalated. And even though there was an awareness for mental health, I did not take advantage of it. And when I say awareness, when I was traveling, the United States Citizenship Immigration Services gave me a booklet that says, if you see these signs, reach out to National Domestic Violence Hotline. But I can assure you that when I saw the first sign, which was call the cops, I was like, nope, There's no way I'm calling the police on my wife, right? So no, we don't call the police on our wife. And it continued. But I'm thankful for the friends in my life who actually were able to also keep nudging me. And there's one in particular, her name is Adaku. So then I just came to the US. I couldn't work. I didn't have the authorization to work yet. I was waiting for my documentation so that it's not an illegal thing against immigration. And so I would drive my ex-wife to work like an hour. It was in Houston. And then I'll drive back with her car. And she had this online store. So I was helping to arrange the things on the shelves and everything. And but I had friends already in Houston as well. So sometimes I'll just drive over to their place. So there was this particular friend, Ada. Every time I drove to her house, now in the Nigerian culture, when you visit me, I just give you food to eat. I don't have to ask you if you're hungry. So she would serve me food, I would eat. I think maybe I looked like somebody who was not eating at home. I don't know what it was. And then one day she said in Igbo, "What the why you gonna make abuse? It's like your wife is abusing you." Then I became defensive. No, what do you mean by that? Don't you know I'm a man? How can I be abused by my wife? She said, "No, Dika, I've been there so I can see the signs. I see the signs in you," because she was also a survivor of domestic abuse. So it was one time I remember this happened. Then after then, months down the line, after the thing had escalated, I started therapy. One day I said to her, "Ada, why did you not help me out?" She said, "Dika, I literally told you a couple of times, but when I saw that you were defensive, I stopped trying to push because I had to respect boundaries. But I'm here today to say, me, I will not respect boundaries. I will push because I wish she had pushed a little bit more." I know sometimes we want to respect people's boundaries, but if somebody is drowning, I would rather just say, "Hey, I'll help you out," instead of saying, "Do you need a rope? Do you want a rope? You sure you don't need help?" Because the person is just going to drown. And I said that because I know that if she hadn't even told me, "Dika, or Dika, why again a mega abuse," I wouldn't have gone for therapy. I saw it in the booklet by Domestic Violence Hotline, but then Ada had to say it again to me for it, so it was there somehow. So after it escalated to finally physical abuse, I was like, okay, now I need to contact these people. That was when I was like, all right, I need to now call these people. And somehow the reason why I was comfortable with it was because I'd seen it in the booklet. Well, maybe it's just Americans, right? But then a Nigerian said to me, "You are also being abused." So I was like, okay, it's not an American thing. Because in the Nigerian community, the times I try to be, to raise this awareness online, first thing you hear sometimes is, "You're now Americanized. You're now weak." I said, you people need to fix your brain or your minds. So this is a conversation I want to really normalize because I've seen it help even myself, even someone like my dad and my brother, and it's something I think we should normalize. So I don't know if I was supposed to read a book at some point.
I think for the people who aren't familiar with your book, if you did read something, it might help set
Yeah.
some context.
Okay, so I'm just going to read some part of my book so that it gives context to the whole thing. There's this chapter. I don't know what chapter it is, but let's see how it goes. Page 38. So in this book, I documented how my journey from the beginning at some point where I saw the signs, but I ignored the signs, or I ran away. And then again, I found myself back into the same thing because I ignored the signs. Um, so one of the things I documented is let's see how it goes. The reason why most of us find ourselves back in some form of commitment with or under consistent influence from the person from whom we should have stayed away is that we choose to subscribe to the let's see how it goes ideology. In many instances, our instinct tries to warn us that going ahead with the idea will cause us more harm than good. A series of experiments by Princeton psychologists Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov reveal that all it takes is a tenth of a second to form an impression of a stranger from the person's face, and longer exposures don't significantly alter those impressions, but actually boost your confidence in your judgment. Their research is presented in their article, First Impressions, in the July 1st, 2006 issue of Psychological Science. Knowing that this is a proven fact, it would be nice to quickly note that most people usually present their best act during the initial stages of getting to know someone. Even broken people could present themselves to be wholesome at the initial stages. As a result, it would be psychologically safer for you to take the first impression with a pinch of salt and to not ignore red flags as they intermittently pop their heads. Does anybody have a question? Chris, Amaka, Corey, Tash, Obum, Oni.
You said when you see someone being abused, you said you felt you hope your friend Adako had pushed, right?
Yes.
But what if you know the person is not ready, as you were not ready then, right? What if
Uh,
like we see all these things a lot of the time,
mm,
and I know it's important to respect boundaries, right? But then when when like I guess my question would be, how are you able to tell when it's too much? Do you get when okay, yeah, let me let you do you, and then when you get to a time where you're ready to talk, then or you're ready to seek help, then I can interfere. But how do you know when to help? Because there's I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm going to just talk about my life. Um, there's a friend of mine as well who had, well, they are both my friends, married. They had issues with their relationship, and one of them refused to go for therapy. Now, the National Domestic Violence Hotline does not encourage going for counseling with an abusive partner because when you do, you're going to look like the one who's crazy. It's just so for me, I think it's reactive abuse because when you're abused, there's this self defense. It's called reactive abuse. And when that happens, you look like the abuser to the unsuspecting eye, especially if the person dealing with you is very covert. Like they are liked by the public, and then the public sees you overreacting. But I would say that when that my two of my friends, one of them I was like, why don't you start therapy? And he said, no, I don't need therapy. I don't need therapy. So, but every time his wife would call me, complain. At one point I was like, go for therapy. I don't need therapy. And I snapped. I was like, what do you mean by you don't need therapy? Me that I've gone for therapy, am I crazy? Do you think that you're better than me? Why? Like, I had to snap. And then he said, well, it's like, you don't want to continue with this conversation. By like 3 weeks later, he started therapy. I had to show him, hey, there's something wrong with you. You think it's me, but it's you. Like, it had to get to a point where I had to say, you think I'm weak for going for therapy, but you are dying and you don't know you're dying. So, but it's something I'm gifted with. It's not one size fits all. But I know I put it like this: if a child is walking right into the fire, I am not going to say, do you need help? I will force you out of that fire because you don't have the capacity at that point. And the truth is, any mental health, especially a victim, is either suffering from Stockholm syndrome, which is you're trying to make excuses for your abuser. Now, when I know that that's the case, why would I want to push? I will push. We've had situations where men and women lost their lives because their family members it's just marriage, let's let you. Or they went to the pastor said, one hit Nigeria, Osinachi, when she died. After she died, the whole celebrities and the man was an abuser. But when she went to her parents, they said, go back to your husband's house. When she went to the pastor said, we are praying for you. So now everybody blamed him. And I said, no, all of you are complicit in this because somehow you did not want to save somebody who was drowning. So I don't know if I would want to respect boundaries when I know that somebody I know is going into the fire. I won't. Call me names, that's fine. But I will not respect your boundaries. But that's me. Because I wish Ada did not respect my boundaries. I wish she didn't, you know?
You can go either way.
Huh?
You can go either way. So it worked out, right, for you and your friend, but it doesn't always work out for you when you push.
So it did not work out for us per se, because if not because of the kind of person that I am, I like to reflect. At a point, I said, you are not supportive. You were not there for me. When I was going through this, you were not there for me. That's when she said, I tried to warn you and you did not listen. I said, oh, you did. That's true. And that's the problem. The person who is drowning will look for reasons to drag you along. I wasn't seeing that I was the one to save myself. I was seeing it that those who could have warned me did not warn me. Sometimes we get back to that. So I will warn you so that you know that I said everything and then you blocked me, right? Because the truth is, oh, but they still need your support. Do I really want to support somebody who has Stockholm syndrome and has not figured out that they have a problem? No, I'm not a therapist. It's going to drain my energy. Dr. Suzy can do it, not me, right? I won't do that. So if you're a friend or family member, I will push. But that's me. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody.
So, how do you continue your mental health journey now that it's, what are you, 3 years removed from that relationship? 4 years removed?
So it was October 5th, 6th, 8th, October 8th, 2018, 6th or 8th, 2018. 6 years. For me, I'm already in the field of continuous improvement. So that's what I do professionally. So I have this craving to always improve. I have an agile mindset, meaning I'm always trying to grow. And I know that plays a very huge role with helping you to move beyond some things. I would say that I went to Rattlesnake Ridge on, I was going to just show the picture. On Wednesday, Rattlesnake Lake, not just the ridge, the lake as well, on Wednesday. And I saw something that I'd seen 2 years ago when I also went there. And it was these 3 stumps that are cut off, right? That are chopped off from the trunk. Now, they are neither dead nor alive. They're not sprouting, they're not turning to firewood. So September 26, 2021, after I started writing the book, I went there after hiking for 3 hours to get there. And I said, wait, this is remarkable. That's what I use on my LinkedIn profile, those trees that are chopped off. So you see that they are neither dead nor alive, but behind them, you see green vegetation. So I was like, this is us, human beings who have been through one or two things. Now, the remarkable thing about my experience there is the trunks that are in the lake are not bearing fruit. They are neither dead nor alive. Then the trunks that are by the rocks look like the rocks, neither dead nor alive, same color with the rocks. Now, the trunks that are closer to a place that has flowing water are sprouting. Like you see grass, but in this other place you don't see grass. Then those that are closer to vegetation are sprouting. As a matter of fact, there was one particular trunk that had a full-blown tree sprout from within it. So those by the lake are in a community where they don't want to grow. They are used to the water the way it is, no extra fresh nutrients. The ones by the rocks have adapted to, okay, because I went through this, this is who I am. So they are now like rocks. And the ones by the vegetation are around a healthy support group. So they begin to be like, Then somebody had a question from TikTok, right? You want to ask a question? Someone said I had a question.
It was me. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Adea.
Okay, so like basically people around me have told me, I guess, that love, whenever you love somebody, you're supposed to love like the good parts, the bad parts, just, stick through everything basically. And I feel like often it's sometimes hard to tell, especially in the cases where it's more so like mental abuse more than physical. That person also has problems. You have problems, and then you're thinking, well, maybe it's me, and maybe I did something. So I guess my question is, how do you know when it's too much? Like, how do you know whenever they're doing that, you are probably in a situation where you're going to be drained more than you need to be?
Okay, so if I got your question correctly, you're asking how do you know when to stop supporting somebody who is refusing to listen to go for therapy, right?
Basically, yeah.
Well, Dr. Suzy, did you hear the question?
Can you all hear me? Wave if you can. Okay, great. How do you know? Well, it's very important to understand how you feel. And if you feel like it's time to stop supporting them, then it is. And sometimes people just need to hear, look, I've had enough. And, I'm willing to help you any way I can. But I'm feeling very stressed out over this. And when I'm feeling stressed out, that might mean that my body is telling me that I've had enough and that you need to take over your own life. And eventually it's going to come to that person has to take responsibility and ownership for their own feelings and their own responsibilities. Just like you have to take responsibility to know when it doesn't feel good anymore to support them and it stresses you out too much. And sometimes when we enable others, we work harder at their therapy than they do. And that's the point that you know.
And Dr. Suzy, when you say enable others, do you mind explaining that?
Sure. Let's take a small child. You say, okay, it's time to start dressing yourself. So the small child wears bright plaid pants and a polka dot shirt. And you're going, nah, that's not what you wear to school. And you say it's for your good to wear that to school. And they keep arguing and arguing and arguing. And so you give in to that child. You enable them to wear that particular outfit to school. So then they come home and they say, Mama, why did you let me do that? Everybody laughed at me at school. And you say, well, son, I told you that these clothes go together here, these clothes go together here, and these clothes go together here. You did not want to listen to me, and so I cannot continue having this same argument day in and day out just because you want to wear certain things to school that aren't acceptable. So it's the same thing with adults. You know, if we have adults around us that know where to call for therapy, that have EAP programs, employee assistance programs through their employer that are free, that have crisis centers around. I mean, after you maybe escort them around one time, you can't be holding their hand every single time that they get up in the morning to get them to go to all of their therapy classes or their therapy sessions or working out or whatever it is that they're doing. It comes to a point when they have to stand up and say, this is my therapy, these are my problems, and I'm working on it in my way.
Thank you, Dr. Suzy. Edea, did she answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Dr. Suzy, there's another question. Is it healthy to tell people who are reluctant about their mental health that you can't continue to support? Yeah, but I think she just answered that and said, yes, you have to draw boundaries.
Can we cover a couple techniques?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anytime that you are dealing with another person, there's a way to communicate with them so you don't piss them off.
Mm-hmm.
And how you can do that is you can say this: I'm really not feeling comfortable supporting you anymore, and I need to take care of myself. So because I need to take care of myself and I need to feel comfortable around you, I can't continue doing this behavior of enabling or supporting or telling you how you should act. You need to find that out on your
own. Uche, did you hear that? Uche Amaka. So, Uche, did that answer your question? Does telling them that make them more responsible? Okay, I'm also just going to bring you live so you can also ask the questions yourself. Okay, Dr. Suzy, she has a follow-up question. She said, does telling them that make them more responsible?
And I don't know, that's their choice.
Well,
that is their choice. And sometimes people are not ready to hear what you have to tell them. But when you're feeling uncomfortable with them not taking responsibility for themselves, especially if they're living in your house and eating your food and not contributing towards the household in any way, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But, you know, when we're adults, we all pretty much know what right and wrong is. And we all pretty much know when we're stepping on in someone's space and making them feel uncomfortable. So being able to say in I messages, I feel uncomfortable, you know, I'd love to have you as a friend, or, you know, I'd love to continue talking with you as a family member, but only after you own your own issues.
Thank you, Dr. Suzy. I just got notified that we're at time. Unfortunately, the technology did not make things work very well this time around. Hopefully, the next one will be okay. But thank you so much. And Uwa, I hope your question was answered.
Yeah, greetings. Yes, it was. And I also have like a follow-up because it's like a situation I'm dealing with at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I always suggest suggest to everyone, they do 5 jumping jacks.
5 jumping jacks.
That allows some blood to get to your brain, and it allows you to breathe, so you can think just a little bit better. And everybody has the right to say, I've done all I can do. I feel uncomfortable stepping into your shoes any further. And, I'll be glad to help in any way, but I cannot work harder at your therapy than you are.
And Dr. Suzy, can I even say something? This is about my dad. So when my mom passed, there was a lot going on, and it was a very toxic environment. He wouldn't let us, bury her where she was supposed to be buried and all that. And one day I said, if you don't apologize, because I said, if you don't call every single one of my siblings and apologize, I'm going to expose you. But that was me. That's just what I did. And my siblings who I was trying to help out told him to block me. Then I gave him an ultimatum. One of my best friends said, you have to give him an ultimatum because he does not understand. I said, you have until for this to happen. Now, it almost looked like it went bad, but eventually it got his siblings involved, and then got his uncle involved, and then they finally had a family meeting they should have had before I was born, and found out why there was some sort of discord between them and my mother. Turned out that when they were young preachers, they went to an event and somebody prophesied to them that my grandmother was a witch. And that was the beginning of the problem in the house. So it took them for her to have died and for me to have pushed for them to have a meeting they should have had before I was born. And maybe my mom would have still been alive. So I had to also say, hey, I need to stop communicating with you, Dad. And I'm very thankful for my niece because then they'll reach out to her thinking that I was the bad guy, not knowing that she was the one telling me to prioritize my mental health. So I've seen where I had to sometimes draw the line and say, hey, I'm not going to continue doing this until you do this, and this. It took like months, but eventually it became profitable at the end of the day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a simple man who has displayed for you a high amount of courage. We all have that courage inside of us, and we don't use it. And so think about how courageous that you must be to do some of these things. They don't feel good for you to do. But if you don't do them, it could have, if Dika had not taken this responsibility and used his courage, it may have gone on for another generation. And then it would have gotten more toxic, and then it may have gotten lost in the air somewhere and never brought to the surface so healing could occur. So think about that when you expose family things like Dika did, because secrets do not heal us. Secrets do not heal us. Truth heals us, love heals us, and reality checks heal us. So think about your courage level and how maybe you could do just a little bit of exercise to build up your courage. And then when you come to a situation such as this, you'll be able to have the muscle to follow through.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Suzy. We're actually at time, and now that I know how this particular library works, I'll be more prepared for the next. If there's going to be a next one, then it will be a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye, Dr. Suzy.
Bye.
All right, thank you, guys. I mean, I don't have any other thing to say unless you have a question. It's just that I saw something interesting in the comments as well that I didn't think was cool. Somebody's saying, never mind, I'm not gonna read it out. But as usual, everywhere you have trolls, people who come to a space and make something about something else. So thank you for coming, and
Do you want a photo?
I mean, if you guys want a photo. You want a photo?
Want to buy your photo? We can move it over.
What happened to it? Oh, I can reduce it though. But it just for the image. And thanks for coming, Chris. This is the first time you come. And Obum, this is your first time. Thank you. Amaka and Corey and Tash are like old soldiers. They've been here before. They've been here before. And I have like a good news. So I've started shooting the video book. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be accommodating of people whose learning styles are different from, like some people don't like to read paper. Some people would rather just watch something. Yeah, so just like me too, I don't like reading, I like asking questions.
Yeah. Do you want to do a timer on your ring?
Yes, absolutely. Oopsie. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I even have, it's not a timer, I have the button that you can press. Yeah, I have the button. Yep, it works. Okay. Maybe you guys should set in so I can get the angle and then. Abum, you want to join the picture? Abum? Should I join the picture? Because somehow, sometimes I know, that's how me, I avoid something, I'll start working hard. So they don't call me to come and join the photo. So I don't know what we're going to say, cheese or ouch.
Do you want to sit in
I
front?
can just squat. What should I say?